You were never the man I really wanted. You were just the safest choice. My fiancée whispered after inviting her ex to our wedding to make me jealous. She never expected him to expose her biggest secret during the reception. If someone had asked me on the morning of my wedding whether I trusted my fiancée, I would have answered without hesitation. With my life. By midnight, I realized I shouldn't have trusted her with my future. My name is Adam Walker. I'm 32 years old, and this happened just outside Nashville, Tennessee. I met Claire 5 years earlier at a charity fundraiser. She was funny, confident, and somehow managed to make every room feel brighter the moment she walked into it. We dated for almost 4 years before I proposed. Looking back, there was one problem I kept pretending didn't exist. Her ex-boyfriend. His name was Mason. Claire insisted they had ended on good terms and stayed friendly. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I never wanted to be the insecure fiancé who demanded she cut people out of her life. Over the years, she'd mention him every now and then. Mason just got promoted. Mason bought a new truck. Mason texted to congratulate me. It always felt unnecessary. Whenever I told her it made me uncomfortable, she'd laugh. You're jealous over nothing. So I convinced myself I was. 3 months before the wedding, she told me she'd invited Mason. I honestly thought she was joking. You invited your ex? Yeah. Why? Because we're adults. I've never invited an ex to a wedding. That's because you're insecure. I'm not insecure. She smiled. Then it shouldn't bother you. It did bother me. A lot. But after arguing for 2 days, I gave up. I wasn't going to cancel a wedding over one guest. The morning of the ceremony, everything seemed perfect. The weather was clear. My family had flown in from 3 different states. My younger sister cried before the ceremony even started. For a few hours, I actually believed the hardest part of the day would be remembering my vows. The ceremony went beautifully. Claire looked incredible. We exchanged rings. Everyone cheered. For one brief moment, I thought maybe I'd been worrying over nothing. Then came the reception. About an hour in, I noticed Claire standing near the bar talking to Mason. They were laughing, not casually, comfortably, like people who had never really stopped knowing each other. When I walked over, Claire leaned toward me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then, quietly enough that nobody else could hear, she whispered, "You were never the man I really wanted. You were just the safest choice." I actually thought I'd misheard her. What? She took another sip of champagne. Mason was exciting. She looked me up and down. You were stable. Every word felt like someone slowly twisting a knife. I married you because I knew you'd always be there. I stared at her. Why would you tell me this? She smiled. Because now it's too late. Then she walked back toward the dance floor as if she'd just commented on the weather. I stood there frozen. Mason had heard everything. He looked at me, then at Claire. His face wasn't smug. It looked uncomfortable. I need some air, he muttered before walking outside. About 10 minutes later, I stepped onto the patio myself. Mason was standing alone. The second he saw me, he shook his head. I'm sorry. For what? I shouldn't have come. No kidding. He looked genuinely embarrassed. I didn't know. Know what? He sighed. She told me you wanted to prove you weren't threatened by me. I laughed bitterly. That's funny. Why? Because she told me she invited you to prove we were mature. He stared at me. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he quietly asked, She didn't tell you? Tell me what? He looked back toward the reception hall. I thought you knew. Knew what? His expression changed, almost like he was debating whether to say anything. Finally, he reached into his jacket pocket. I wasn't planning on doing this today. He unlocked his phone. There. He handed it to me. The screen showed a message from Claire. It had been sent 2 nights before the wedding. Please don't tell Adam we hooked up after the engagement party. If he calls you, deny everything. Once we're married, he'll never leave me anyway. I read it twice, then a third time. I looked up. This is fake. I wish it was. He opened another conversation. Photos. Hotel receipts, location history, everything matched. 6 weeks earlier, the weekend she'd told me she was visiting her mother. Instead, she'd spent 2 nights with Mason. I ended it after that, Mason said quietly. I told her getting married was a mistake. I couldn't speak. I came today because I honestly believed she'd told you everything. He looked sick. When I heard what she whispered to you, he shook his head. I realized she hadn't changed at all. For the first time that day, I wasn't angry at Mason. I almost felt sorry for him. He'd been manipulated too. Inside, the DJ announced it was time for speeches. Everyone gathered around. Claire smiled across the room, completely unaware that her world was about to change. I walked over to the DJ. "Can I borrow the microphone?" He handed it to me without hesitation. Claire smiled. I wasn't expecting another speech. Neither was anyone else. I looked around the room. Nearly 200 people. Our families, friends, co-workers, people who had traveled across the country to celebrate us. I took a slow breath. I just found out something. The room became silent. I looked at Claire. I was about to spend the rest of my life with someone who never planned to be honest with me. Her smile disappeared. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. Instead, I held up my phone. I don't believe in ruining someone's reputation with rumors. I looked around the room. So I'll let her own words speak. I connected my phone to the reception's Bluetooth speaker. The room filled with Claire's voice. Not a recording I'd secretly made. A voice message Mason had just forwarded to me. It had been sent to him the morning after they slept together. Everyone heard her laugh before saying, "Relax. Adam is predictable. He forgives everything. Once the wedding's over, half of everything he owns is mine anyway." The room went completely silent. You could hear glasses being set down. Then came the second part. "He's not who I love. He's just who makes the most sense financially." Claire lunged toward me. "Turn it off." I lowered the volume. "No." She looked around desperately. "I can explain." Mason spoke before anyone else could. "No, Claire." Every head turned toward him. "I've lied for you enough." He walked to the center of the room. I was stupid enough to believe she was calling off the wedding. He looked directly at me. "I owe you an apology." Then he turned toward everyone else. "Everything he just played is true." Claire's father slowly stood up. His face had gone pale. He looked at his daughter. "Please tell me this isn't real." She couldn't, because the messages, hotel receipts, and timestamps were already sitting on the table in front of me. No one shouted. No dramatic fight broke out. It was worse. People simply started leaving, table by table. One of Claire's bridesmaids quietly took off her bridesmaid bracelet and placed it on the gift table before walking out. Her maid of honor hugged me instead of her. Claire stood alone in the middle of the dance floor, crying as the room emptied around her. I walked over to the wedding coordinator. "Please pack up the cake and donate it to the local shelter." She smiled sadly. "I will." Then I walked past Claire. She grabbed my arm. "Adam, please." I gently moved her hand away. "The safest choice you ever had." I looked her in the eyes. "Just made the safest decision of his life." I left the reception wearing my wedding suit, but not a wedding ring. 6 months later, I got a refund from the honeymoon resort after explaining what had happened. My friends and I took the trip together instead, turning what was supposed to be the worst week of my life into one of the best. A mutual friend later told me Claire tried reaching out several times. Apparently, Mason wanted nothing to do with her after the wedding. Neither did most of the friends who had watched her lie without flinching. I never replied to her messages. Some people think revenge is making someone suffer. I disagree. The best revenge is refusing to spend another minute carrying someone else's dishonesty. Claire thought marrying the safe choice guaranteed her future. Instead, her own choices left her standing alone in a room that had been full of people just minutes earlier. And as I drove away from the reception that night, I realized something that took me years to understand. Being someone's backup plan is painful. Walking away before they get the chance to use you is freedom.